Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today? Hey, this is Gregory Wiles coming live to you from Houston, Texas, with its inspirational morning talk. For first-time listeners, I'm on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:45 a.m. That's Central Time. That's our time here in Texas. So, hope everything is going well wherever you are. But it's a great day here in Texas, man. It's a great day. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I know I just had a nice, relaxing weekend. Yes, last night I was looking at that movie. If you haven't seen it, you can look at it. God's Not Dead. It's a few years ago, but it got some nice messages concerning all the stuff I'm doing. I was so compelled to say I'm gonna watch just a little piece of one, and then I end up watching part one and part two, and there's part three, and it's aligned with this message. It's kind of helped inspire the message, my message for today, right? Along with some other stuff I was listening to over the weekend. But it said, don't focus on your problem. Focus on God instead of your problem. That's what we want to look at today. You want to focus in God instead of our problem, right? Why are you saying that? Because he operates on principles. He operates on principles. He just don't operate on our feelings and how we feel and how you feel and how. No, he operates on these principles that I'm trying to teach people. I'm trying to point out to people. He operates on these principles. So if you focus on him instead of your problem, and focus on understand these principles, you're gonna get through your situation, right? You're gonna get through your situation. Pamela Fontanelli, good morning, good morning. So this story, remember we talk about some of the principles, all these little principles. We look at the last session, I think we look at Proverbs 26:27. We talk about the law of inclusion, right? And whoever dig a pit falls into it, and whoever rolls a stone will have it rolled back on them. And these little laws, we focus on these principles. This is how we operate. We talk about the law of gravity. These are the stuff how we operate, how we set up. So if we focus on him instead of our problem, and focus on learning these principles, what it takes to get through this particular situation, we can be better off, right? And if you Google, when you get a chance, Google images of Daniel in the lion's den. Google images of Daniel in the lion's den, and you're going to see this principle I'm telling you about. Daniel was in the lion's den, right? We can go through the story and point out some little things here today, too. He was in the lion's den, but his focus. Look at the picture and tell me what you notice before I tell you. But look and see what Daniel is doing in the lion's den. Most of the illustrations that they have about Daniel in the lion's den, look and observe what Daniel is doing. Daniel is not looking at the lions. See where Daniel is looking. Daniel's focus is up to heaven on God. He wasn't looking at the lions. He wasn't thinking about lions. He was focused on God. Because had he been thinking about lions, he would be trying to hide and run from them when he realized how much angry lions, Mr. Osmond Smith, good morning, how much angry lions is in this cage. He would have trying to run and hide from them. He might have been trying, he couldn't sleep. They say he slept all night in there with the lions. He make the lions his pillows, and he was hugging up with the lions. Had he been focusing on lions, focusing on his problem, he wouldn't be able to sleep. He wouldn't be able to sleep. Right? When you got issues going on in your life, the big issues you got going on, big problems. Some people facing divorce, some people about to lose their job. So whatever those issues are that you face, and that's huge issues in your life, and you continue to focus on them. How bigger they get, how more magnified they are, how much more they scare you, right? Your problems become bigger as the more focus you put on them. The more you tell people about them and people sympathizing on you, the problem keep kind of growing like a monster in front of you, and it scares you. It get bigger. But if you put the focus on God now, like what Daniel did, right? That's how Daniel was able to sleep the night and there were the lions, because he didn't focus in on lions. His focus was on God. His focus was on God. Because when you got your problems, you know you can't sleep if you keep focusing and thinking about how you're going to pay the bill tomorrow, how you're going to do this. You can't sleep, right? Because you're focused on the problem and not on him, right? He says, seek ye first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto thee. That's what he's saying. Seek ye first. Focus on me, not your problem, right? And we brought that out in the story what we did, and then got this, bring the scripture here when Jesus was on the boat with the disciples and he was sleeping, and they had the storms, and the disciples like, Jesus, you sleeping through these storms? You sleeping? And then when Jesus get up and rebuked the wind and the waves and they stop, and then they start getting scared. So who's this man? He rebuked the wind and the waves. So the very thing that they was scared of, he got power over and command over, can just tell it to stop. This man rebuked the wind and the waves and it obey him. Who is he? They get terrified of him now, right? So that's what God's saying. All your problems, I got the power over them. I got power over the most thing you scared. They were scared. In that case, they were scared of the wind and the waves. And Jesus just rebuked them like, shut, wind and wave, just stop. Peace, be still. And they stopped. So he's saying, why you focus on the wind and the waves? You focus on me. Because I got power over them, right? That's the basic message. Just like here, Daniel was kept his focus on God. And his problem, those lions, was not a problem anymore. God, he wasn't focused on them, right? So let's look at this. We look at Daniel's story a few days ago, but we focus on different parts. And that's why these stories in this Bible here, it's not just nice stories. We got to look at the messages that's embedded in them, right? And we can look at a different part of the story. Now, I focus on the angels that protected Daniel. We talk about angels. God angels can protect you if you follow his word. And we bring this out in this story, how the angels protect him. So I can focus on a different part. Why those angels now was committed to helping Daniel. Why those angels was there to help Daniel. Good morning, Jillian. Good morning, Rod Roberts. Good morning. How are you doing, sir? How are you doing? So we're going to take this other part of Daniel's story, and we're going to look at why these angels had the obligation to protect Daniel, all in line with what we're talking about here. So I can try and go through it a little quickly, but it's Daniel 6. Daniel 6. I can try and go through it a little quickly here. So here it's reading Daniel 6 here right now, right? It pleases Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule through the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. So Daniel was separate himself from them with his wisdom and all of that. So the king said, this guy here, I can put over all of them. I can put him to rule over all these guys here, right? At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs. But they were unable to do so. They could not find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. So they got to find a way that the spirit of jealousy jump on them right now, right? And that's what I'm saying. You focus on God. The spirit of jealousy, the people probably trying to bring you down right now, but if you keep your focus on God and be loyal to his word, they can't touch you. They can't touch you. Right? You don't even know, you don't even have to know what they're planning and plotting. Can you remember we talk about Proverbs 26:27 saying, who dig a pit can fall into it? We can see it right here too. If you dig in a pit for man, you're going to fall into it. So you don't even have to know what they're planning against you. But once you keep your focus where it needs to be on God, it's not going to touch you. So let's see here, right? So they're planning how they can catch Daniel, but they can't find no way in his work. Daniel is no corruption. The man is diligent. He ain't making no mistakes, right? So they can't find no way there to trap him. So here what they do now. So let me read that over. They could not find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, we will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God. So they say, you know what? We ain't going to find nowhere to set this man up unless it got to do something with his God, because we know he's faithful to his God. And he's not going to waver from his God. He's going to hold fast to his God. So we got to find a way for let that be a weakness to him. And that gets good. The same thing with the movie last night where I was watching, God's Not Dead. It's the same thing, right? So here what to try to do. We got to find something about his God, because he know he's so faithful to his God. If we find something along the lines, that's the only way we can trap this man and set him up, right? So these administrators and satraps went as a group to the king and said, "May King Darius live forever. The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any other god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den." So they're saying, okay, good. We know Daniel is not going to pray to no other God, because this man faithful to his God. We see how he's faithful, how he's praying. So if we go to the king and make up of something and say, "King, you know what? You're so great. In the next 30 days, God, they just tell themselves, we don't need a whole lot of time. We know Daniel is not going to follow this and worship no other person but his God. So in the next 30 days, king, let's sign up something saying that cannot be reversed, saying, anyone who pray to any other God except you gonna be thrown into the lion's den, right? Digging a pit for a man. You remember Proverbs 26:27? You're digging a pit for that man, right? To set him up. And the king said, "No problem. Yeah, that sounds good. His head feel big. Everybody got to worship me and pray to me. Okay, no problem. Let's sign off on it. In accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, it cannot be repelled." So he's saying, I can do this, that it cannot be repelled. So the king signed off on it. But long story short, right? So now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room with the windows open towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to God, just as he had done before. He didn't waver from it. Even though the king saying the next 30 days here, that he said, I stick into the God, my God. I'm worshiping no king, right? He done just like he did before. These men went as a group and found Daniel praying. Because they know there's a setup, right? They know Daniel going to go. They know what Daniel do 3 times a day praying. So they just want to catch him now. So they go and they saw him praying, long story short, and go back to the king and say, "Hey, king." Let's see what they say here. Then they said to the king, "Daniel, who's one of your exiles from Judah, pay no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. So the king saying, shoot, Daniel is one of the best guys. I really don't care if he praying to his God or me, but I sign off on this thing, so I got to follow through now as the king, because I said this cannot be reversed. So I got to follow through, but he followed through with a heavy heart, but he done say it. He got to do it, right? So the king gave orders. So the men went to the group. Yeah. So the king gave orders, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve, continue rescue you." So Daniel gets thrown into the lion's den, right? And the other part of the story where I focus on the last time there, so is when the angels protect Daniel in the lion's den. I don't want to go through, but long story short, Daniel was in the lion's den, and the lions had eaten him. So at the sight of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near to the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, have your God whom you serve continually been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel answered, "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel." That's what we focused on the last time, that God sent his angel. But there's a reason why God sent his angel. "And he shut the mouth of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I done any wrong against you." But the angels had the obligation to protect Daniel, because Daniel focused on God rather than giving in to the pressure of worshiping the king for the next 30 days. Daniel still continued to focus on his God instead of that issue, right? And when he go in the lions den with the lions, his focus was still on God instead of this problem, which was the lions, right? So once you focus on the word, this is automatic. God is going to protect you, right? Because this is what Psalms 1 said. Blessed is the man who walk not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. Remember, I was talking about his law. His delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law he meditates day and night. He shall be, here we be, when you meditate on the word, he shall be like a tree planted in the river of water that brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaves also shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. So he's saying, if you follow me and delight in my word, whatever you do going to prosper. You're going to bear your fruit in your season. You're going to prosper. But here what happened to the people who don't. The ungodly are not so, but are like the shafts which the wind drives away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. So the way of the ungodly shall perish. You know the ways of the righteous. So if you focus on the law, he can take care of you pretty much. You're going to bear your fruit in your season, and anything you do, you're going to prosper, right? So Daniel focusing on him here. Number one, he don't protect him from the lion. He don't shut the mouths of the lion up, because Daniel focuses on him and not the lions. Not getting scared of the lions, because Daniel focused on him. So let's see how the story end off quickly and see how these scriptures come into play here, right? The king was overjoyed, because the king really wanted to save Daniel, right? So the king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the lion's den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wounds was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. No wounds was found on him. The problem, what you're facing right now, that threatened to bring you down, that threatened to get you kicked out of your house, that threatened to lose your job, you got people trying to set you up, that threatened to you to lose your car, threatened to your life, the sickness and all of that. If you keep your problem focused on God, you're going to come out of it with no wounds. Right? Because you hear what he said, he didn't come out with no wounds. Let me read that over again so let it sink in. The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wounds was found on him. Why no wounds was found on him? Because he had trusted in his God. He kept his focus on God. He didn't give the temptation and say, well, you know what? It's just 30 days. I'm going to hide and go and pray because I don't want nobody to say praying to my God. And I'm going to worship the king. He said, no. That's polluting me. If I do that, I'm polluting myself. I'm going to continue regardless of what they said the penalty is, and I'm going to stick to my God. That's what the movie too. Must look at those two movies. At the king's command, here what happened now when Daniel do that. And Daniel was brave to even get put into the lion's den and risk being eaten by the lion. Here what happened after all of this. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den. What the scripture say? I'm telling you, this man operate by principles. He don't operate by feelings and how you feel and all of that. So this is what we're talking about, how this scripture come back into play. The men who accused Daniel was brought in and thrown into the lion's den. What these men was trying to do to Daniel, get him thrown into the lion's den, and now they end up in the lion's den, the same pit where they're trying to dig. Hence, Proverbs 26:27, whoever digs a pit will fall into it. So they gave this pit to get Daniel thrown into the lion's den, and who ended up going into the lion's den? God operate on these principles here, guys. That's why I was saying in the last talk, you don't need to take revenge and all of that. If we understand these principles and stick by them and continue to practice them, we will get all the promises of his word. You see, these men dig a pit for Daniel, and this same scripture come back and get them. You dig a pit for a man, you're going to fall into it. So they get put into the lion's den, right? So let's see. And the king commanded the men who falsely accused Daniel was brought and thrown into the lion's den with their wives and children. So when you do wickedness, it's not only you're affecting your bloodline. With their wives and the children get thrown into the lion's den, right? And before they reach the floor of the den, the lions overpower them and crush all their bones, right? And that's what the scripture starts off here. The ways of the ungodly shall perish. The ways of the ungodly shall perish. This is just what we just read. He said, if you follow the laws, you're going to be like a tree by the water. But if you don't, you're going to perish. So they had these motives against Daniel, and they perished for it, them and all their families. God didn't shut the mouth of the lion for them. Then the king Darius wrote to all the nations and people of every language in the earth, may you prosper greatly. I issued a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. So if you want to bring believers, you need to push God on people. You just follow these laws, let your life speak for itself. Now, Daniel did this. So the king write a different decree now. Instead of he writing a decree for people to pray and bow down to him when he realized he's not God, now he writing the decree that everyone got to follow God, the God of what Daniel was worshiping, because he see the power of that God. So this is the next thing for Christians. You want to make believers live your life according to this word, and people are going to see it and realize what you got, bro. You look so happy. Things going so nice for you. I want what you got. And that's the opportunity now to tell them why you're so happy and why things are working for you. That's the opportunity to promote God now. Right, guys? So I don't want to go on too long, but I want to get the message, man. And that's my whole ministry is based on. Following this word. God don't operate on feelings. He don't operate on how we feel today. He operate on his principles that he set out in the Bible. Once we understand them and we following them, no matter how scary things might look, you may be in the lion's den, or you may be like Shamrock, Amrak, and Abednego and get thrown into the fire. Don't matter how it's scary and how people threatening you. Once you hold on and you seek him first, and you put him above all thing else, you're going to come out without a scratch. The problem that you're facing right now, you keep your focus on him and not on the problem, you're going to get the results. We got to understand these little laws. We got to understand these stuff, how we operate. And once we understand them and work in accordance with them, we will get those results. It's not reserved for these people in these stories here. He's trying to teach us through these people's lives how to live our life. And that's why he come down to give us a model. It's not because those Bible days and they're going to happen. No. This is people just like you and me who following the laws, who getting the results. The people who don't, we see what they get. We're no different from them. Like could Moses tell people, let's choose life instead of death. All right, guys, I'm going to leave that there. But you guys have a great day, man. And we'll talk again on Wednesday. Good morning, Renita. Good morning, Renita. All right, let me see what Pamela, please put on you. Able quickly, the teaching needs to be heard immediately. God bless. All right, thank you. I'll go and upload this right now. I'll go and upload right now, Pamela Jefferson. I'll upload this teaching right now to my YouTube. All right, thank you for that. All right, have a great day. Okay, bye.